All right, so the first question of the day is how do you create urgency when there is none?
When there isn't, okay, well, urgency. Urgency. So 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 that's a big deal, right? Because you hear about it when everywhere in sales training they go, oh, you got to create urgency, and usually it comes off contrived, and you're usually trying to make it up, like you asked, how do you create urgency when there is none? Well, I don't think you do. What we've found is that when we start talking with somebody in a sort of in a selling process, or we're trying to get them to buy buy a concept, by recommending us, buy our stuff, whatever the case is. And let's say it's a buyer. We're talking about a buyer. And so one of the first things we'll ask is something like, "How did you get into this business?" It's very conversational, but it's very intentional. We have very intentional questions that we ask, and one of them down there, not very far, is, "Well, what's the time frame? And when do you need this?" Like if we're selling credit card processing, go, "Oh, well, when do you need to be set up to accept cards?" And then right there, you'll find out how urgent it is to them. And so we don't have to create any urgency, but we will a little bit, because if it's if their need is immediate or even medium term, we'll go, wow, we really better get that going then, shouldn't we? So then we pair it with a tie down, right? And they go, yeah, yeah, we really do. There's your urgency. If they go, I don't really need it from, any time, and I'm just kind of checking it out, maybe next year. And you go, okay. So and then you don't waste their time nor yours, and you just sort of cut it short. And you go, oh yeah. Then you talk about a couple of things. You go, well, you know what? Things change so much. I mean, you see it in technology, don't you? Yeah, I do. Exactly. That's what happens here. Or you see it in rates. Rates fluctuate. All these things change. So, but if I can get an idea what you're doing, and if we just keep in contact, like if you see some things out there, they go, "Oh, I really wanted to do this, that, and the other thing," let me know. And then when you're ready, would you say, like, in a year? Okay. Then we'll have everything all set to go. Does that make sense? Yeah, it does. And that's anything to add to that one, Chuck?
No, I mean, sometimes there just isn't. And don't try faking it, because it doesn't
Yeah.
work. And then you'll never
Yeah.
get it later when they are ready.
Yeah.
Set it up just like John said. Go, oh, you're looking, things change so much. Why don't we do this? But then have a clear call to action at the end of the call, right? Go, hey, why don't we do this? I'll follow. If you're looking January and that's 3 months from now, I'll call you at the beginning of December, because that way we can make sure we do it all right. Just set expectations. Don't try to contrive something that's going to make you look
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
no.
Well, I know you don't need it but if you do it now, you get a free set of Ginsu steak knives.
Yeah,
Go,
right.
no.
Right.
Don't do that.
And then
Oh, really?
for
Yeah.
$9.95, yep, exactly.
Yeah. No, that's doesn't win friends and influence people. It does. It's not, it's cheap. You want to do this in a real sort of way. So later too, they appreciate how you dealt with them. So later,
Right.
when you're adding other things and you're asking for a referral, they appreciate how you handled them,
Right.
how you handled yourself and handled them in their situation. You're building value by not being cheap, adding the Ginsu steak
Right.
knives, if they buy now. But it all comes from, at the beginning, we call it discovery. We're just trying to find out where typical sales, they'll go, what's our 4 steps? They go reporting relationship, presentation, overcoming objections, and close. Well, you don't find much of that. You don't find out when they need it in this typical process that the old-fashioned sales world tells you about. But if you make the process, the conversation, one of the first few questions to ask is, when do you need it? And then that establishes where you go from there with urgency. Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. My guess is you'll still need more sales then too. So you can just kind of chalk it up as, oh, cool. Maybe I'll have something cooking in January or December
Yeah.
or whenever.
Right. Right. Yeah. So you put it in your CRM for them, and
Yep.
and so you've got more coming in. And one of the things too with this urgency business is, sometimes people feel they're strapped. They need a sale. So they're trying all kinds of crazy tricks to establish urgency, and that's why you give the steak knives and all the stuff, because you don't really have anything good enough. You don't have good enough leads coming in from the pipeline that you have. And so they have to grasp at straws and try to trick people. And so if you set this up a little bit differently, you don't have to do all that. So we set things up so we've got all the fat pitches. We call them fat pitches. We want people calling us and, hey, I heard that you do this. So and so sent me over here. You go, oh, who over? Oh, Jim over at such and such. Oh, okay, how's Jim? Da 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 da. So you've got some mutual things you can talk about, and then you go, well, how'd you get into this business, and how fast do you need it? So anyway, so what comes before your phone ever rings or people inquire is a really big deal too. That helps you to ease into that, to not feel stressed about I need to get this and I need to pull out other stops. You still want to you want to get all the business that you can, and you want to do the process the right way. And how you ask about when they need it helps this urgency thing, solves the whole urgency thing.
Yep.
And and prior to that, of course, bringing in fat pitches is huge. So all these two things together make for one of the key ways that we use to get free.
How do you handle it when a prospect says we're happy with our current provider?
I ask them well, I would imagine there's a couple different ways to go about this, depending on the type of person that you're dealing with. I always ask them, oh, I understand that, because obviously if you weren't happy, you'd have probably called me, right? But again, how we go about it, they are calling me. So this is a little different, right? So, but I have run into that, because in our business, I'm a consumer, so I'm out there talking to people as I'm buying stuff. I'm always trying to dig up accounts while I'm out there, and they go, "Oh, we're happy with who they're with." And they go, "Well, sure, of course, because I'd be happy with color television or black and white television if I didn't know color TV existed." We're all happy until we find something better, right? And they go, "Well, yeah, I hear what you're saying." I go, "Well, what do you like about them?" And they usually go, "Oh, service. Oh, yeah, I can imagine. Service is important to you then." Yep. And you see, I'm leading them into something. See, these are leading questions. I'm leading you into something. And I go, "Yeah, service is important." I go, "Okay." And this is just one way. And I go, "Okay, so I'd imagine if you could get that same top quality service, but have it at a more affordable situation, that would be even better, wouldn't it?" And then they go, "Well, I'm really happy." And I go, "Well, I mean, I'm sure you'd be happy if you could use more resources to grow your business instead of paying, bank fees." That's like our industry specific kind of thing. But of course they are. We're all happy until we find out that there's something better. So I just got to get that concept to them and figure out how to show them that I'm better.
And Chuck said that's one way, and he went down the price road. Chuck,
Right.
if you weren't going down the price road, uh, so because I think the question you asked is, what if you could have that for, basically you said, what if you could have that for more affordable, basically less
Right.
money?
Yep.
How could you do it so you didn't go down the price road?
Well, then you start asking questions like operational type questions, like, well, how does, and again, I'm using our industry because that's what I do every day.
Yeah.
There's things like, well, I might notice what type of equipment they're using. And I go, oh, maybe they just have a standard piece of equipment that doesn't do all the fancy things that they should have in their shop. I may go, oh, I see you've got the FD150, right? And they're going, yep. And I go, well, how do you do inventory? And they go, huh? And I go, well, does that do inventory management for you? And they go, well, no. And let me give you a story. I'll tell you, this is a true story. We'd gone in, one of our sales partners had gone into a liquor store, and the guy that owned the liquor store, I swear to God, was 2 days older than dirt. He was an old dude. I mean, Jesus called him sir. I mean, that's how old this guy was, right? And, smoked one right after another, had a big, and this was, 20 years ago. But the interesting thing is when we approached him about his account, he had a phenomenal deal. There really was nothing that we could do dollars and cents wise that would warrant him going through making these switches. And one of the questions we asked him was exactly that, about inventory. Well, how do you do your inventory? And he goes, well, I hired these 3 young guys. They come in here once a month, and it cost me $300 and a 6-pack of Coronas, some weird deal like that. And he goes, they
A
come
couple
in,
air fresheners and a bottle and a plastic comb
and a bottle of Old Harbor, right? And So he goes, I pay $300 a month to have him do inventory for us. And I said, well, what? And the sales partner said, well, what if I could show you how to just at the point of sale that every time you made a transaction, it already did your inventory management and it was live. You knew to the gnat's ass every minute what your inventory was. And then he goes, well, tell me more. He was interested
Right.
in that. So you don't have to. I don't like to go down the money. I don't like to come in cheaper, right? Or less expensive unless I really have to. I want to bring more value in. So
Right.
what are some things that I can do to bring value in? And obviously, depending on who you're talking to, you gotta get to it. You gotta be on it because they're already telling you no, right? They're already saying I'm happy, so they're saying no already. So now I got to be quick. I got to kind of figure out the dynamics of the situation and go from there. But always lead in with questions. Start asking questions, and that's where people fail. That's why we
Yeah.
asked them, well, what do you do for inventory management? We did not go, hey, well, I can get you something to do inventory management for you. And he might go, nah, my kid does it. I love it because I spend half
Exactly.
the day with
Exactly.
them. And
Exactly.
you
Right.
got to ask questions. Selling is not telling. You'll never tell your way to a sale. You can only
Yeah.
ask your way to a sale.
So now that you say that selling isn't telling, you go, and so if we go back just a little bit, and so where Chuck said what he didn't say was,
Right,
oh, we could get you something for inventory management. That's telling.
right.
Instead, he said, what do you do for inventory management? Does this
Yeah.
thing do inventory management? Well, of course it doesn't do it. So you're
Oh,
playing this. You
right.
understand
And
which way to go because if you're doing this for freedom and not just a job where you get paid and
mm-hmm,
you don't really care about it because you're not going to do
mm-hmm.
it tomorrow anyway because you're going to find a better job. But if you're doing this
Right.
really like, man, I want to do this to get free. These are the things that you use.
Right.
And even if you are going to leave this job tomorrow, if you understand how to do this stuff, you take this with you wherever
You
you
own it.
go. And it's yours. You can apply it
Mm-hmm,
wherever you go. So
mm-hmm.
that's one of the things when people on our team we talk about, and what you can see, obviously we talk about it. If you were on our team right now, we'd be showing you how to do that, and we'd
Mm-hmm.
hope that you'd stay with us till you're free and beyond. We hang out forever, but if when you're with us, the same things that we show you how to do very successfully and get free. Should you decide to go somewhere else, you take that with you.
Right. And the
Yeah.
standard
So
question
we're
is,
gonna we're gonna be we're gonna be very 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 good to we're very good to our team, and they
yeah,
they typically
absolutely.
don't go somewhere else because there's all kinds of fun to be had here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh hey, uh, before I forget, what if ultimately they say it's just not gonna happen? It's a no. Look, I'm just not gonna do it. I'm not doing it. I'm the liquor store guy.
Yeah.
No, Charlie, it doesn't matter what the hell you have to say. I'm not gonna do it. Yeah.
John,
Give me
I
another
don't get I
cigarette.
don't get no, so I don't know how to handle them. No, I'm kidding. Um, but I because what I see a lot of sales people do because they're looking at a job, they're not looking at it like, hey, I'm doing this to get free, so I'm setting this up for the long term to set me up to be free, right? Is look, and if they go, no, I'm not interested, I could care less. This is it. I go, hey, you know what? I get it. I mean, timing is everything, right? And this is so important. This is where so many people because don't be lazy here. I go, no, I get it. I get it, old timer. I mean, timing is everything, right? I stopped
Yeah.
talking. Yeah, I want to hear
And
that. And I go,
concrete hit the
yeah,
door, bricks, buddy.
right. Exactly. So you must absolutely must get some kind of confirmation from them. Don't roll on because that's no different than doing a presentation. If you just roll on through your questions, yeah, because some of them are rhetorical, absolutely, but I still want you to interact with me, right? And I go, hey man, I get it. Timing is everything, right? Yeah, it's everything. So you know what I'll do? Why don't we do this? I'm gonna buy my 12 pack of banquets right now. When I come in and see you next month when I'm on vacation, I'm going to talk to you about this again because I'll be buying more banquet from you. And you'll go, oh, all right. And then I'm going to wear him down. He's going to love me. he's going to go, man, this kid, I was a kid. I'm not a kid, but to him, anybody's a kid. But he's going to go, I like this guy because he doesn't write. He asks the questions right. He waits for me to respond. He doesn't talk over me. He does it right. And every time I'm picking up just a little bit more. Maybe it's not inventory. Maybe it's he's got these young kids that work here in the summer and they're never on time. He needs a time management clock for them because he doesn't know when they're here, not here. There's so many different things to uncover, but you have to be patient. Rome was not built in the day, right? So you
So
have to be
let's say you're
patient.
not on vacation next month again. Let's say you're not back for a year. What do you do in the meantime?
Drip market on them.
So how do you set that up?
Well, I go, hey, you know what? I get it. Timing's everything. Let me do this. Do you have a card? Let me get your information. I'm going to leave you mine. And then hopefully I try to get their email. And sometimes they're closed off to it. But then I might drop the guy a call 2 or 3 months from now. And I might, or whenever's appropriate. And by the vibe, right? You know the vibe. Like if you're connecting and it's cool, I might just call him a couple times and then I'm just going to, hey, give me your email. I wanted to send this over to you. And I go, oh, he'll give it to me over the phone if he wouldn't give it to me up front. And then I'm just going to drip market on him. And then like a month before I go down there on vacation again, I'm going to call him, hey, old timer, what's up, man? How you doing? Great. How's fishing? Wow, I'm coming down there again. You got any banquets left? Ha, 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 I got bank. You got to play all this stuff out, dude. I mean, people are so face value. I think today they don't think through like, it's like, and I've never played chess actually, but I understand the concept behind chess is that I'm trying to think 90 moves ahead of the other guy, right? I'm trying to see all this. That's what it is in life. Is if the farther ahead that you can see and anticipate how things roll out, the more successful you're going to be. But you got to be patient, let them unfold too. You can't rush this
Yeah.
stuff. Do it right. If you
And
do it right, the door's always open for you.
yeah.
Sorry.
And when you want to get them on your list to drip market, like,
Mm-hmm.
I usually start with the same sort of words Chuck says. Hey, I understand timing's not right. Why don't we do this? Why don't we just stay in contact? Because that way, when you wake up at 3 a.m. in a cold sweat and go, oh man, I really want to get a hold of John because I had a call with my provider and I hate them. That
Right.
what a horrible experience. Screw you. And so when I go, I understand timing's not right, but you know what? How about we keep in contact? Because you ever said no to like tomorrow, say yes? Something comes up. You wake up at 3 in the
Mm-hmm.
morning, you go, oh, I really got to get a hold of John. How do you get a hold of me? Let's exchange emails and I'll drop you something now and again. I'm not going to send you advertising or spam you stuff. Don't worry about it. Just, maybe little
Right.
stories of what's going on. Maybe there's another liquor store over in Sabika, who
Right.
had a similar experience. You go, oh man, I never thought of that. So it's just
Yeah.
stuff like that. Makes sense? Yeah. Okay. And then, so it's casual.
Yeah.
It's not, and,
And be
and so
funny.
yeah,
Be fun.
right. You want to, yeah, the better you can roll with that and become, understand who you're dealing with, and play that. It's like you don't play
Mm-hmm.
you play them, right? You this
Right.
mirror image thing is what you do. You see politicians kind
Yes.
of do it.
Yeah.
Who's the most recent what was the Harris when she's running for, she got all kinds of flack for sounding like she was from the South and the
Mm-hmm.
Northeast and the surfer, and a deer hunter and all the things she sounded like, you know, but that's, she does that because as a effect, and you don't do it so it's really obvious, right?
Right.
But you sort of mold yourself, but you roll with it. You can imagine, like Chuck said, and the saying there is the further ahead you can see, the more successful you'll be. And so he's saying that. So you see ahead, how you're playing this with this person, and it's not like you're playing them. You just, sometimes, this is human nature stuff you're dealing with, and so you
Right.
need to, if you're different from them, birds of a feather flock together. People like people who are like
Mm-hmm.
them, and
Mm-hmm.
so the more you can have his sort of humor or her sort of humor or their sort of dialect or lingo without being obvious, and they're
Right.
going, what a faker, the more they're going to appreciate you. So there's that whole piece of things. But it's, it's more having a good conversation. And if
Yeah.
it doesn't pan out, you go, let's stay in
It's
contact.
in,
And when at 3 a.m. when you need me, you know how to get a hold of me.
well, and two, like when you like, I'll say things like, in older people and remember this, but in the old movies, it's like your lips say no, but your eyes say yes. And then they laugh. They laugh. They go, oh, okay, all
Yeah.
right. So I've always tried to use like levity. I want
And
to
when
get
Chuck
people.
says that, usually he's
I'm
swaying.
kind of, hey, hey. No, I'm not. But be fun, because if you make that a pleasurable experience, that interaction is pleasurable, then they'll remember you, right? So when you
Yeah.
are in there or you do call them on the telephone, you're not like, who are you? No, I don't remember that. You go, yeah, dude, I was in there. No, dude, I got a lot of guys that come in here. Yeah, but not like me,
Yeah.
right? So you've got to be different,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Different in a good sort of way.
Right.
All right, next question here. What do you do when you have a sales cycle that's dragging on and on and on?
Great urgency.
How do you do that?
Well,
Well, yeah.
you get that a lot. I mean, that happens, and I guess it depends on why is it dragging on. Is it dragging on because they're just elusive and they're hard to get a hold of, or they're hard to deal with? Are they dragging on because I took shortcuts and didn't shore this up how I should have? I guess it really depends. Why is it dragging on? And let maybe it's something like, hey man, I know you wanted to be up by this time. We need to get this done like now. We can't wait anymore, or you won't be ready because you said you wanted to be ready, right? You see how I ask? I always put it back on them. You always got to put it on them, because if they feel like they're making the decision, they'll act. If they feel like you're talking them into making the decision, they're going to drag shit out. That's what people do. But if you feel, if you gotta be crafty. You gotta be crafty, and hopefully you did the right thing up front and created that timeline. You
Yeah.
created that urgency, or when they want to be up and running, or maybe, hey man, I can't get you this price after Friday. We got to get this done now. Those are some common ways to go about it, but I think you really need to look at, why is it dragging on? What did you do different or wrong up front, or are they just squirrely? Because people get squirrely. I get it.
Or things happen. They
Right.
thought they had money coming in and didn't, or
Right.
something went. And sometimes they won't tell you that stuff. And so those things you can't control. You
Right.
can control how you do it up front. And
Mm.
that's what we see, I would say, is that most of it's operator error.
Yeah.
The person that's having the salesperson, we'll call it. Doesn't matter what kind of entrepreneur you are. When you're selling stuff, we're going to call you the salesperson. In a
Right.
sales situation, when you're selling it, when you do it wrong, often it's going to drive something's going to go haywire, and you're not going to understand why. But when you do it right up front, and if it's dragging on, uh, if it's because you didn't understand their time frame and now you're chasing them, that's on you. It's a big deal to understand time frame up front, so you avoid a lot of this stuff. Uh, some of it's unavoidable because it's something happened on their end, and there's nothing they or you can do about it. It's just
Right.
what happened. Uh,
And
and
then if
and
you
when
have
you
a
play
full
your cards right,
pipeline, if you have a full pipeline,
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
only call
yeah, yeah.
people, I call them once. I go through
Well,
it and
yeah,
I do everything in
right.
my power to get this closed right now. I mean, in this, you kind of get a handle on over time. And if it doesn't close the first time I'm talking with them, depending on what type of, how important the deal is, like how much money's in it, right? Because you start weighing it out and you go, look, it's just, because sometimes not calling them is the right thing to do, and it'll all of a sudden speed up the sales cycle. If they feel like they're getting chased, it's like a game to them. It's like, all right, hey dude, call me when you're ready, and then I got to move on. I got to move on. I got to get more stuff coming in. I got to deal with other stuff. And it's weird. It's like, I think people have a sixth sense when they're dealing with salespeople, and they can tell when you're hurting for a deal. It's like, oh man, I'm hurting for a deal. I need to get, and they sense it and they go, well, just,
They smell desperation
they
all over you.
smell
It's like a
desperation,
bad
right?
cologne.
It is. It's like JD's for
Desperation
Groot,
made
right?
by typical sales. you know
Right. So, you want to
you know
speed it up. sometimes not putting pressure on it is the best thing to do. So it's that's a tough one. I would
Yeah.
say create a
Well,
machine that's so big it's okay.
yeah, yeah. Well, and yeah, we talk about this a lot. It's what comes before this ever happens, right?
Right.
Because this,
Mhm.
what how did this person ever, how do you find them or they find you? What you want is that they found you, they got recommended to you, and
Right.
then once they call, you go, oh, how'd you find out? How'd you hear about me? Oh, Jim over at such and such. Oh, Jim, da 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 da. We used to fish walleyes up in Monaga, Wisconsin, or whatever the case is. And yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Oh, your daughter plays volleyball with his daughter. Oh yeah. So
Mhm.
now, so in a world where there's low trust, they immediately trust you, and it's yours to lose. And then you start asking them good discovery questions. Oh, how'd you get into this business? What's your time frame? Or say it like that. But when do you need this?
Mhm.
And right there, it's a pivotal point that you're going to either get a lot of this if you don't ask it, or you get a lot less of it if you do, because now you understand it, you know how to play your cards right going forward, and how to guide them into the right thing right now. And you're going to get a lot less of that. And like Chuck was saying, look, if you're doing this properly, if you're working on your game, like if imagine you're an athlete, you want to be a pro level, you're always practicing and you're watching video of yourself and listening to yourself and all these things, and you're really good, you're going to have a lot less of this stuff. And in this process too, you're not even going to go play that part of the game if their time frame is too far out that this even
Right.
makes sense to talk about. And then so you won't get that either, because you did, Chuck mentioned, and I do this too. I want this all to be wrapped up on this one call. I don't want to have more calls than this. And I know some products you need to,
Need more.
because
Right.
it's just how it goes. But if you understand the game that you're playing, then you understand how to take care of most of this, um, really efficiently and effectively, and you're not chasing. Maybe you're just buttoning up things in the process of the deal. You're buying or selling a piece of real estate. It just typically doesn't
Got to
happen like
unfold.
that.
Right.
There's a process. So that's okay. But a lot of things, if it's going to go or not go on this first call, and if it feels like it's not going, I too. I'm not going to call. I'm not chasing them. And then what do? You call. You didn't build value. Didn't play the game right at first. So now you're calling, and they know you didn't. They don't
Right.
understand why or how or
Right.
what, but they know that it didn't feel right, and they're not really comfortable with you. So then you call back and go, hey, I'm just following up on this thing that I did really poorly the first time.
Right.
They're not going to want. They're not. That's not going to help. But you misinterpret it as something dragging on. Well, it's dragging on forever. It's never going to happen. The chances
Right.
are. So it's not worth we find it's not worth the time. So you want to understand what the game is, and you want to become
Right.
really good at it, and understand time frame is part of the game, which nobody in the world seems to. And they don't teach you that. Here I think is the only place. Well, I know it's the only place I ever hear about it is
Mhm.
time frame. It's here, and how we use it. And so anyway, it's a big deal, and you
It's
just use it effectively in a in a conversational sort of way, and then it helps you understand what your next moves are. And so you eliminate most of that sort of stuff, which costs you a fortune,
cost you a lot of
because
money.
in yeah, every call that you call that or the time that you invest chasing something that's never going to happen, you could have been talking to people where things are going to happen,
Right.
or there's a potential of it happening. This one is near zero,
Yeah.
so even if you call somebody cold, it's a better chance of happening than this thing.
Right.
So that and that's what we do. We upfront, uh, we do our best. We get most of things on track and going forward. 75% of things, 25% we can tell it's not going to happen. We don't call those people either. We get them what they need, and if they want to send it back to us, paperwork or questions or whatever, that's on them. We're moving on, and
Yeah.
so because we've done the right thing up front, and the way that person came into us was right up front. They
Mhm.
came into us right. We did the right thing. We're not going to chase it. We did everything right. We're not chasing it. Chances are we got the deal or we're getting the deal, but we're not chasing. We're absolutely. And now our system brings in more fat pitches. And then
Yeah.
again, we play the game right, and 75% 75% chance we're going to get the deal. 25% we're not, but we're not going to chase that 25. We're going on to either get more of these people coming in. We're taking the calls of those people coming in.
And having the right mindset when you go in. I think, John, maybe you said this years ago. Someone's getting sold on this call. It's either you or them. They're selling you on why they're not moving forward, and you're trying to sell them on to move forward. Who's going to win? Who's going to get sold? And if you approach it the way we teach here, with huge logic, going about it where it makes sense, it's pretty hard for people to drag it on and say no. So it's understand.
Yeah. 75% of the time we're going to be a yes. 25% of the time there's just something.
Great numbers.
It's just going to be no. It's not the right situation, and I can think of a handful. You have this conversation. It's just like, this isn't. Or even I've inquired. Not just a few nights ago. I thought, every once in a while, I'll look at real estate for sale in the south of France, right? And there's a piece that they don't tell you the address, right? They're exclusive addresses. Yep. They don't tell you where it is. So I sent an email, and the French girl responded first thing in the morning. I looked at my email in the morning, and there she was responding. And basically I go, look, don't waste your time with me, because I'm not a buyer.
Yeah.
But so I'm
straight.
one of her 25% that's not going to go.
Yeah.
She handled my inquiry really, really well. She was obviously it's not her first trip to the south of France rodeo, but I'm one of her 25. It's not going to happen. She can chase me out. She's not chasing me.
Right. Because she knows better. But do you know how many times in 30 plus years that I've known John that he goes, no, I'm not a buyer. Next thing you know, he shows up with it. I go, dude, I thought you weren't doing that. Oh,
every time almost every time I catch myself now, I have enough experience in life where I go, no, absolutely not. Mm-hmm. And then tomorrow it's like, I know now when I say that, I'm in serious trouble because I'm probably going to do it.
Yep.
There are a few things I can think of that I'm pretty certain I'm never going to do, but there are a lot of other things that spontaneously come up, and absolutely not. And it's like, okay. Yeah,
well, I guess I will.
How can you turn a prospect who says no into a referrer or into a referral?
I understand timing. That's the same thing we talked about before.
Yeah.
I get it, man. Timing's everything. I understand right now. Timing's just not, just doesn't add up. But let me ask you, who do you know that timing could be right for? In so much of this stuff, this is where so many sales folks in the world, they get tripped up because they think there's like a golden answer, right? No, the golden answer is understanding all these concepts. That's why here in Freedom World, we talk about things on a conceptual level, right? We don't just go, just say this. Because, having a book of rebuttals and, okay, if they say this, here's your rebuttal, and then you handle it like this. Dude, that shit does not work. People don't like it. No. People feel it's insincere. You don't have my best interest in mind. Be real with these people. And I don't know about you guys, but if somebody told me like, hey, dude, if I said no and they go, hey, I get it. Timing's everything. Caught you at the wrong time. Maybe timing will never be right, but I really like that we could get to this point together. It seems like you're reasonable. I'm reasonable. Who do you know that likes working with reasonable people? I mean, just say the words. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, that's what he's doing there is conceptual, right? Because you fill in the blank with when he's saying reasonable people, all that kind of stuff. At First Financial, we have a thing called the Give Back program. So when merchants choose us, here's a real life example. When merchants choose us, part of the fee that they already pay, they don't have to pay more with us. They pay the same thing they paid before, but part of the fee that they pay goes to an organization of their choice, something that they really care about. Mm-hmm. And so if we're talking to a merchant and they go, man, I understand. I've got a sister who's in Australia. She has to be part of the decision-making process. She's in the outback. She's bit by a snake. She's in the hospital. I can't even connect with her. Something's not going to work, right? There's not much I can do about this. And I go, hey, I understand. Timing's not right. I hope your sister, sister's good. When she gets out, we'll catch back up. But hey, let me ask you, who else do you know that'd like to see XYZ organization benefit? Like you're ultimately going to, like all these other people are. who else do you know that would like to see that organization? And so now they're saying no, but I'm still asking them uh, to recommend me to other people who care about this cause. I don't know if they know of anybody else who might want credit card processing. I don't like to use that one because how the hell are they supposed to know
Yeah.
who else might want credit card
Mm-hmm.
processing? But that's why one of the reasons that you want to create a referral program so that you can go is you can use the referral program as a link to whom they're going to refer you to, rather than just asking them straight up who else wants credit card processing or who else wants a mortgage or who else wants real estate. I don't know. I don't know all this. But if you're talking about something that is a little different psychology that somebody else may have a similar interest in, I go, you know what? Um, I've got two buddies and they both own businesses. They give them a jingle, and so now when you sick this person on to your friends, it's about something that's okay to for me to refer them uh, uh, about, rather than just hammer on them about insurance or banking or telephone service or whatever the case is that I have no idea, and they're going to chew my butt later. Go, why?
Right.
Or even they won't, but they'll go, or they'll think John's an idiot. Why would you send those people over here? I get if you're calling me about something that's near and dear to my heart, but don't call me about don't sick anybody on me about business. So think of a clever referral programs really are helpful.
No picture.
No
That's all
picture.
right. All right. I think we can move on to we've got a couple of audience questions. Hey guys, this is Jamie. My company sends me to 4 to 5 major conferences annually. We collect hundreds of business cards, do post-event email sequences, and end up with a couple of qualified conversations that yield 1 to 2 deals. Everyone says we need to work the room harder or follow up faster, but I'm wondering, are we even using events correctly, or how should we be using events?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to draw a picture here. I'm imagining, see if I can get my vantage points right. Oh, look at that. Not so bad. So, here's somebody at a booth, right? Hey, big hands.
I
There
know
we
where
go.
you're going.
So I would, that's a tough place. That's a tough place, I would say, it's a tough place, I think, to go from cold to warm. It's a good place where you can invite people that you've already connected with. And so I think prior to ever going, one of the things I would really like to do is maybe you've got, let's just say, Chuck, you've been to some of these at
Oh, yeah.
we have a medical association, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you go to the one. What state have you gone to? Georgia?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
I've been to quite a few.
So we have a sales partner who is big in the state of Georgia with this medical association. Chuck's gone. There's Chuck. Sorry, Chuck. Sorry. You know what? Never mind. That looks more like
You're lucky. I can't see it,
character
so you're lucky.
from
I can't see
Pac-Man.
it. Yeah.
Never mind. So Chuck goes with them, and Chuck's there, and the people on the whole list of all the people in the association who are going there know of our sales partner,
Mm-hmm.
because the association recommended us. And
Yep.
so the association recommends us. The doctors walk by, our guys there, he and Chuck are kissing babies and shaking hands and doing all the stuff. And then later they buy them dinner and get them all smiling on
Hopped up on wine and
on wine. Yeah.
yeah. That's what it is.
So that works pretty well.
But here, let me interject, because I've done a lot more of these in the last handful of years, and I think you probably have, John. But one of the things that we implemented, because we have a really close relationship with the medical association that puts this on every year. They've asked us, we've had to get up and speak in front of a room of doctors, and have our message, keep your message short. But one of the things that we implemented a few years ago is we donated an iPad to the association, and what they set up was like a giveaway. So they had little sheets they gave everybody that came into this show or deal, whatever you want to call it, conference, and they got a sticker, or someone from each booth had to sign off, and then they got entered in to win this iPad. So it's like you see these doctors that are making $500,000 a year, but boy, they're going to hit every booth to make sure you sign off on it because they want to win this $500 iPad. It's just crazy, right? Because it's fun, right? So, and then you're harvesting information. You're harvesting, right? So they have to leave their card with you. You have all their contact information. You do your best to build rapport with them. If you're just standing there and hoping that these people come by and talk with you, 90% of the time they go, no, I'm going to this conference because I already know I want to see two people that I already deal with. Everybody else,
Right.
I don't care. So you gotta, if you're paying for booth space, you need to have. I would try to implement things that give you some kind of guarantee that you're at least going to get in front of these people and have the ability to have a conversation with them. And in this scenario, the association we deal with, they recommend us, so they push us. I mean, they will drag us to go meet with doctors. Like, hey, I want you. They'll make introductions for us while we're there. You gotta work this. It just
Yeah.
people don't
The
think of this on their own. You gotta be the
yeah,
one thinking of this stuff.
right. The standard stuff doesn't work, right? Because even the people putting on the show don't have the vested interest typically.
No,
For us in this scenario, they do because they end up because we have a joint venture with them,
right?
and the better we do at their show, the more money they make.
Mhm.
So they have a vested that almost never happens. I mean, it happens,
Right,
but the situation you're talking about probably doesn't happen. And so
right,
they run around to 4 different shows, and so one of the things that if I don't typically go to shows, but if I'm going to go to a show, I want to get the list of all the attendees. So
hmm
whatever level I need to sign up to get the list of all the attendees, that's kind of I'll consider buying in at that level so I get a list. And even if I want to follow up, if I want to follow up with them later, I have a list of all the people. And if
hmm
I want to call them and go, hey, just touching base. I see that you went there. I did too. And then you build some sort of rapport and a relationship and see if you can do business outside of that. But
right,
just sitting there going to one of these things and there's 1,000 people there, either
right,
you're wandering around or you're working the booth hoping people come by, and remember if you, the people putting it on probably aren't going to be very innovative. They aren't in any sort of business for freedom. You're
right,
probably the only one at the show that's there for freedom. And
right.
so if you're going about it as a job and they're sending you to 4 different places, you're probably spending more time in the bar doing nothing and trying to
Yeah,
skip out on as much of the stuff as possible. And then you get a couple leads. Well, no wonder it doesn't work because that's
right,
that's how that's how people do it, and it just doesn't work. But if you go, okay, let me, how can I reposition this a little bit so I can get all the contacts, I
right.
can get a hold of them in a creative sort of way, uh, or if the organization that is putting it on has a big benefit, the better I do, the better they do.
hmm
Uh, Position it in a different way than everybody in the world does it. Because these shows, it's advertising, right? You're advertising, yeah, maybe you
Yeah,
make a couple of connections along the way. Or maybe you're there, like if I'm going to one in the credit card industry, typically I almost never go. I've done this for over 30 years and I've only been to two.
hmm
Or yeah, two. I've been to two, maybe three, but no more than three. I'm only giving it three because benefit of the doubt. But I don't like to go to these things because it's just a bunch of people mulling around, not
hmm
getting anything done. I'd rather be somewhere else. But sometimes there's the last time I went, there were a couple of people there that I wanted to meet. Chuck and I were there,
hmm
and wanted to meet one of the higher up guys, one of the VPs that we've had a relationship for years, and he comes to our office and we know him, so we see him there. It's like, hey, let's go have dinner. Uh, Chuck and I were thinking about a while back expanding into UK, into England, and so we met we got introduced to some of the guys that happened to be there from England, and so So we met them there. Then we saw them over in London. So you're there for connections, or to, to just get a few leads, like you're talking about. Typically, people do. Or you go, all right, how do I get a list? How do I work that list after this is done? Or how do I get a list prior? Go, hey, you know what? I'm going to be at. Hey, swing by, say hello. And then so so if I can get the list in advance, that's good, because then we can meet in person. If I have to wait and get the list afterwards, which is usually the case, then I can talk to them after. One of the things too is like this sort of booth thing. One of the things that, like advertising, I'll put it under the heading of advertising, which we don't like to pay for advertising, and this is very expensive advertising. But advertising also, let's say there's a magazine that goes to the same industry as these people. We don't like to, most people take out ads, like, here's the magazine, and here's a very expensive full page ad. And you get almost not, I call it hope advertising. You pay in advance and hope it works out. Just like this person, right? They aren't paying for it. It sounds like they're being sent to this place. Imagine the poor sap who owns the business flying some guys out to a place to get a couple leads to spend most time in the bar, and it never pans out, and they never understand why. So one of the things that I'd stop sending them, probably, depending on the trade show. But so back to advertising, one of the things that we found successful, if you're going to advertise, is you can spend a lot of money on a one-page ad, and then you can send that around. Oh, hey, you can see us. You don't know who we are. You see us in Bankers Monthly back in January, and so that's a lot of credibility. But you don't have to buy it every month, and you're not going to get enough people just calling in cold off that. So this, in the same way, you want to look at this differently. So we'll buy one. It's ungodly expensive, but then you can use it for the next year. You go, oh, so you can see us here. You can refer to us there. Oh, you were in Bankers Monthly. You must be credible. Okay, well, so the other people will do this every month and get almost nothing out of it. We'll do it for 1 month and get a lot out of it. The same thing as the trade show. We'll make sure that we get the list, and that's where the value is getting the list and either working it before the show or after the show.
Well, and one thing that's huge, makes tons of sense, and we've done it, and it's worked like a champ. I think that one of the other things that's overlooked is there's other vendors there, right, that aren't selling what you're selling. Those are joint venture opportunities, or those are opportunities to get referrals with each other, so, but people don't, you see a lot of these guys that go to these things, and it's funny because, like, I go to them because our sales partners have those relationships, and they want someone from corporate. They it's just kind of the vibe of it all. But seeing how
Chuck's our credibility piece.
How scary is that, right?
Yeah.
What's really interesting about that is, so you're observing, right? So you're standing there and you're helping your sales partner, and our sales partner there, he's doing it because he wants to get free. Okay, so he's exhausting all these things that we talked about. He's doing this the whole time he's there. And these are like 3-day functions sometimes, right? So, and he's always working and always working. Then you look at some of the other Yahoos that I know their company sent them there, and they're not all Yahoos, but you see some of them. And the guy's like, he's like 24 years old, and he doesn't give a shit. And he comes in, he looks like he had too hard a night. And it's like, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And he's not talking to anybody. He's just sitting there on his phone. And it's an interesting viewpoint, because you go, that guy doesn't care about getting free. And then I look over at our sales partner, and I go, man, this guy cares. Well, that's why he makes 30 grand a month in residuals. That's why he's free. But you see the big contrast is when you're doing it for freedom, it's almost like you're doing it because you have to, not just because you want to. It's like, I have to do this. Where the other guy's just doing it because his boss told me I had to be there. But still, hit them up, because you can get leads. And we've also, in our industry, we've also provided services to other vendors that are there, because they accept credit cards as a form of payment to sell their products. So we've gotten business that way too. And I know not everybody's there under this, but look at everything. You want to look at every little possible toehold, relationship, referral network. I mean, and they'll give you their information,
Well,
especially if they're
that
there
last
selling.
one that you said, by the it's network. It's what a
Yeah.
fantastic opportunity to get a whole list of people that you can put in your massive referral network and start using and start
Yeah,
doing whatever you're doing with your network.
exactly.
All right, next question from the audience is, his name's Nick. He says, I'm 17 and I just started working in my dad's business. Everyone's giving me in sales at my dad's business. He says, everyone's giving me advice about volume. Make 100 cold calls a day, track your numbers, get your reps in. But I'm wondering, if I start my career building cold calling skills, am I just training myself to be dependent on that approach forever? Second question as part of that is there a way to build a referral-based system from day one, even though I have literally zero business network?
Well, yeah, you have to start somewhere, and probably the reason that he's doing cold calls and volume. I mean, the guy's 17, so
Right.
a great opportunity to, if you play your cards right, you're going to be still extremely young and have
Mm-hmm.
a lot going for you. And I don't know what industry this is, but when you build a big network, that's your network, and you can, and I know you're working with at dad's company or whatever it is, right? And so maybe you don't take that network with you, and maybe you do, but most people, a lot of people, we're doing this for freedom. So if the guy's got a job working for whomever, it's not quite exactly the right setup. But he's 17, so he's learning. So cut the kid some slack there, right? So if you're going to learn, uh, learning and building massive referral network is the, if I had a son, 17, and doing something, this is what I tell him to do, and build a massive referral network. Now, I understand that building a massive referral network is a way to get free, and maybe Nick's dad doesn't understand that, and so Nick's going to want to do it a different way rather than the 100 cold calls a day. And you can do 100 cold calls a day, but I would re-aim at
Who you're
referrers,
calling. Yeah.
recommenders, rather than the people who are buying whatever it is they're selling. So that those referrers start sending you inbound leads. So instead of what he's talking about, all I'm doing is hammering out outbound calls and trying to get sales. And there's keep doing it. There's a lot of problems with that, and today's world has changed. And so the same numbers were back 30 years ago. You could make 100 calls and get, at least in our business, in the first financial business, you could make 100 calls and get 2 accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And then time started changing a little bit, and you could get 1.8 and then 1.6. And now you've got to make a couple hundred calls, and you can't even afford to do that. And so the only place that really does it these days are call centers in third world nations, where $3 a day, or $3 a week, whatever, feeds a family of 7. And so they can afford to do it. So that's where it all so merchants get calls all day, or whomever, targets get calls all day. But so I don't want to do that. That becomes a weird competition, and now your target's phone is ringing 17 times a day from people in and then you call with something that might be the same or different or better, but you get put in the same bag as them. It's a horrible life. It's an absolute. There's no feeling of freedom. There's the challenge there. Is it really worth doing? What am I going to win at the end of the day? So we set this up a little bit. The game's different. So if winning means getting more free, if winning means that the challenge is kind of, I don't mind this challenge because I'm building a network that's going to send me business. And it starts sending me business relatively soon because of the way I'm still asking them, hey, who do you know that this might work for now?
Right.
So I do get some business now. In the meantime, I'm building this massive referral network that, maybe it takes 3 months for the first deal to come in, but it's the first one. And then the next month, maybe I have 2. And then the next month, maybe I have 3 and 4 and 5. And pretty soon, all my business comes in that it's all coming in that way. Maybe I'm still make outbound calls and I'm still building my network, but I have so little time to do it because all the calls are inbound and they're warm because somebody recommended them. So yeah, so he said, make a lot of calls. Absolutely. Make calls until your throat bleeds. Your fingers are worn to a nub. Do that, but re-aim your target, not at the buyer, but at the recommender, and then play that game, and that's how you get free. The other way, there's no freedom in it. You
Because
just
what
can't
happens
wait to
when you
die
quit
or
calling?
retire.
What
Yeah,
happens
right,
when you quit cold
right,
calling? Where's your business supposed
right.
to come from then?
That's
You have
that's
no
the
business.
you have no business. And otherwise, but if you build this massive referral network, how much is that network now worth? So you just didn't build an income from your sales. You have this machine that's got serious worth.
Yeah.
That, what's it worth to send in? Like, what we found is that if you're really working your fingers to the bone, doing that old fashioned outbound thing, in our world, you could get 8, 9, 10 accounts a month. When you build it so it comes in, you've got the freedom of you've got a much more pleasant day. You're
Mm-hmm.
doing something doesn't feel like cold calling, the pain of cold calling. You have inbound sales, and we can do more than twice. We can do 250%. We can do 20, 30 accounts a month coming in, instead of, and that feels better because they're easier to close. Uh, they've been recommended to you. They trust you. They're easy to close. And Chuck said, when you stop cold calling, what do you have? It's just dead and cold. But if you stop cold calling your massive referral network, you still have business coming in, and it comes in for a long time.